Hey you guys, it's Britt. Today we're here to talk about more information on Jodi Hildebrandt. I was curious and wanted to kind of see, usually like the focus is on Ruby because obviously she's a public figure and everybody knows her from YouTube and all of the awful things that she did. But I wanted to know a little bit more about Jodi, and I wanted to know kind of what was her life like long before Ruby was even in the picture. So I have a couple of interesting things that I want to go over today, and I also would like to share something that Jessi Hildebrandt said recently regarding kind of how they feel current day with everything that has kind of developed up until this point. So we're going to go over all of that. If you're interested, please keep watching. All right, you guys, so let's start out with Jodi and her kind of life before Ruby came around, and then we'll get into what Jessi was saying on the podcast because I think that as I've mentioned before, there are quite a few voices that should really be elevated in this conversation. And when they are willing to speak publicly, I will absolutely hear and listen to them. So that's what we're going to do. But I came across this article, and it is a few months old, but it came from MSN, and yes, I will link it down below. I know my last 8 passengers video, I forgot to update my description box when I uploaded the video, and people were like, where's the link? Where's the link? So I will do a better job at making sure that the description boxes are updated before I publish the video, and yeah, so either way. But this says Jodi Hildebrandt, 54, is a life coach, author, and the creator of Connections in Utah, which touts itself as a counseling service for parents. Hildebrandt is also a divorced mother of 2. While not much is known about her kids, multiple reports identified one of them as Addison Hildebrandt. The other child is Alex Hildebrandt. Through Jodi's Connections videos, in the clips, Jodi often invoked her name in reference to the inspiration for her parenting practices. If a parent that is not involved in their children's lives to that extent is trying to give parenting advice, that might be something that should not be taken seriously, just saying. Additionally, we also know Jodi was married to Brenton Pugh, who is the father of her children. The couple, who tied the knot in 1999, reportedly separated in 2012. I would love to hear what he has to say about all of this. There's also reports that he's a doctor. I would love to hear his experience having dealt with Jodi, and who knows, like maybe back then she was a totally different person and that's why they were together for 13 years, 14 years, who knows how long they were together before they got married. But I would be interested to hear from him. I don't know if we ever will. While additional details regarding Jodi's life are unavailable, as she has relatively lived a private life, in a recent interview with KUTV 2 News, Jodi's niece revealed the disturbing details in the case are reminiscent of Hildebrandt's extreme parenting methods. And I've reviewed Jessi's initial interview previously. If y'all are ever interested in the other 8 passengers videos that I've done, I did create a playlist a little while ago just to try to make it easier in case you are interested in following along. So that reaction will be in the playlist. Then it goes a little more into Jessi and what Jessi had to say. But I did find that part to be interesting. You consider that you have 2 adult children who have basically nothing to do with their mother, and it makes you wonder, were Jodi's practices back then, like in the early 2000s when these kids were coming up, was it extreme back then and that's why they decided to not have anything to do with her as adults? I know that is that is stepping into speculation, so I will kind of pull myself back in. But I'm a curious person, and I think that I just think that it speaks loudly, and that's where I will leave it. So that's the whole thing with Jodi. Again, would be very interested to hear from her ex-husband as to what it was like. But let's move over to Mormon Stories podcast and listen to this clip. It's about 3 minutes long, but I really want to hear what Jessi had to say more recently.
I think if they would have gone to trial, she would have gone down in a blaze of glory.
What did you think about Jodi's statement about why she decided to plead guilty? And would you have rather seen this go to trial?
I don't know if I can say how I feel about that statement on air, but I think it's complete trash. I think that
you can swear. You're allowed to swear.
I think it's bullshit.
Okay.
100%. Like all her statement about why she pled guilty, of like how she just doesn't want to put those kids through more trauma, and that she just cares about the kids, and that's why she's doing this, and she's taking accountability, and like, no, that is it. The only reason I believe that she took the plea deal is that because it was so obviously in her self-interest to do so. I mean, this is just speculation. I mean, I think it's pretty. I think I have reason to believe this, but I think they had so much more on her. I think if they would have gone to trial, she would have gone down in a blaze of glory. I think that there was financial incentive for her for her to plead guilty. I think there was incentive all over the place for her to plead guilty. And the evidence was so stacked against her that, like, if this went to trial, she would have lost. And not only would she have lost, but I think she would have lost any.
That's the thing. Like, there's just been so much that has come out, like everything with the journals, and let's never forget the blatant, obvious physical signs that Ruby and Jodi were using these children. There's no way that she could have gone and pled not guilty. Like that would have been very bad for her. I completely agree with Jessi when they are saying everything is for her own self-interest. It is not to protect the kids or try to save them from reliving certain things. Like, it's all to do with Jodi, not even Ruby. This has to do with Jodi. Jodi's reputation, Jodi's name, Jodi's possibility to not serve the rest of her life in prison. And that's why I think it's important that the book is thrown at both of them. They are both self-serving monsters that almost killed Ruby's children. Thank God those kids were saved when they were.
A very fantastical way. I think the statement that she made about her caring about those children was 100% just a redirection for this new, because now she's just focusing on becoming as likable as possible so she can manipulate the parole board into getting the shortest sentencing as possible. That is 100% what I believe. She doesn't care about those children. She was them, not a couple months ago. You don't do that and then turn around.
Yeah, you don't just like all of a sudden one day wake up and go from literally abusing these kids to a couple days later, oh, now I'm busted, so now I care about the kids and I have so much compassion. And she is the one who from jail was not taking accountability and still continuing to blame children whom are so innocent and pure. And like, how could you look at these children and not want to keep them safe and not want to protect them and not want to just I don't know. I think that people that harm children, it goes far beyond mental health issues. There are plenty of people who have mental health issues, diagnosed mental health issues, and they aren't abusing children. So I think people that do that to children are outside of the realm of You can't just say that they're mentally ill and they're crazy. It's just simply not accurate in my opinion. So,
and say, oh, I just care about, the reason I'm doing this is because I care about. No, that's not what happens. That's not how it works. Jodi is a psychopath. And even the way that she, like during her sentencing when she's apologizing, I mean, it was a joke. It was horrifying and sickening. Like listening to her say things like, I'm sorry that these children didn't take well to our methods, or paraphrasing. Like, that is the most gaslighting, narcissistic form of an apology that I've ever heard.
imagine all of the things that these kids went through and having the person that is now in jail call it a method. That's not a method. That is her continuing to try to brainwash these kids, even though she is in jail. She knows that eventually these kids are going to, as adults, look back on all of this content. And that's why I also think that it's very important to protect the kids, because one day they will be adults and they will look back on this, and hopefully the content is not publishing their abuse and all that they went through. But she's literally in jail and she's still trying to manipulate. It's so funny. Her and Ruby run around and constantly talk about people being deceptive and manipulating and lying and whatever, and the entire time they were the ones doing the same thing and still are.
And that was another moment when I had family members reach out, and they were so confused by this statement, by the way that she handled it. They were like, we don't understand why, like, she says she's sorry, but she's acting like this. And it's like, we need to stop like ascribing a set of morals that a healthy human would have onto her, because she's not going to act that way. She's acting in the way that a narcissistic psychopath would act. And so when you look at her through that lens, it's no longer confusing. It's like, it actually makes perfect sense. She's not sorry. She's sorry she got caught.
When I sit on video and I say, I can't reconcile that, it doesn't make any sense to me, it never will, it never has, Jessi encapsulated it perfectly. And it's because I am a normal, healthy looking, I'm a normal person looking at a very twisted and demented and psychotic individual. And so, of course, I'm not going to reconcile it, because I could never. Like, you can't reason with people like Ruby and Jodi. None of it is going to make sense to the majority of the population. Whether or not there's religious brainwashing or any of that, even those people can look at Ruby and Jodi and realize how insane they are. So either way, I know this was a quicker video, but I wanted to share that. How do y'all feel about the fact that Jodi has these two kids that are not in the picture and were primarily out of the picture even before the arrest? I would love to hear from y'all. Do you think that it's a situation where they just saw Jodi for who she was and decided to, abandon the mother-child relationship? I don't know. Again, I'm trying to kind of do my best to not speculate too deeply, but I do think that it's interesting. So either way, that's enough for today. If you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.